Hi all my crafty friends, and welcome back to Designs by Gaddis. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you found my channel. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. By doing so, you will help others, just like yourself, be able to find my home decor DIY videos. Today I have a fun little project for us. I will show you how I made this adorable egg static tray and the eggs for it. I used 2 Dollar Tree wood trays, 2 stir sticks, and 1 small piece of wood from Hobby Lobby. The first thing I did was stain all the wood with a mixture of water and black paint to get the gray color. After the staining was dried, I used Gorilla Glue and hot glue to attach everything. I put the Gorilla Glue around the outside of the paint stick and then put hot glue in the middle. I did this so the hot glue would help hold everything while the Gorilla Glue dried. Gorilla Glue usually dries completely in about 2 to 4 hours. I placed the stir sticks on the back edge of the tray and held them in place until the hot glue dried. I marked where I wanted the top tray to go with a pencil, and then made a square within the lines with the Gorilla Glue and added hot glue to the center. I used various clips to hold everything tight until the Gorilla Glue had dried. I actually let it sit for a day while I worked on other projects. The next day I removed all the clips and used this piece of wood from Hobby Lobby. I attached it using hot glue since it wouldn't be holding anything. I mixed up water and black paint again to stain the top piece of wood. I decided I wanted the tray to be just a little bit darker, so I went ahead and used the stain mixture on the entire piece. This time I used my hot air gun instead of waiting for the stain to dry. I created the Eggtastic Easter in Design Space and used my Cricut to cut it out. I applied the vinyl to the top piece of wood, trying to get it as centered as I could. I didn't use any Mod Podge or my iron technique this time because I may want to use this tray for other seasons. So now I can just peel the vinyl off and put a different saying on. I cut 2 pieces of ribbon, 1 for each box. I cut them long enough that I could hot glue them to the back of the box. I wanted to cover up the part of the bottom box that didn't stain the same as the rest of the box with the ribbon. So I aligned the ribbon for each box at the bottom. I used painter's tape when I had the ribbon in place, and then pulled it tight and straight and glued it in the back. I felt like it needed something else. So I used a piece of twine and tied a small bow and then hot glued it to the center of each box. For the hay, I used some crinkle shred paper from Dollar General. I filled both the bottom and top trays until I was happy with the way they looked. So now that the tray was ready, I needed to get to work on the eggs. I used Dollar Tree plastic eggs. For the first egg, I placed a dab of hot glue on the larger end, what I call the bottom of the egg, and started wrapping twine around it. I continued wrapping and placing dabs of hot glue whenever I thought I needed some to hold the twine in place. The egg kept popping open, so I decided to use a piece of tape to hold it together. I continued wrapping the twine and adding glue as needed until I was at the top of the egg. When I got to the top, I added the last dab of glue and worked the end of the twine into it, and then cut off the excess. I had this Easter ribbon and decided to place it around the middle of the twine egg and glued a tiny bow in the front. For the next egg, I went ahead and taped the center. I used hot glue on the egg and then rolled it around in some moss. I tried Mod Podge at first, but I couldn't get the moss to stick to the egg. I continued adding glue and rolling the egg in the moss until the entire egg was covered. I would suggest using a green egg or painting the egg green for the moss-covered eggs. I had a hard time making sure the bright orange didn't show through and had to use a good bit of moss. I used my hands and mashed the moss into the hot glue repeatedly. When the entire egg was covered, I trimmed the moss so it didn't look so wild. I actually made 2 moss-covered eggs doing this. I would also suggest when you're doing the moss-covered eggs to use a box or something with sides when you do this, because this makes a huge mess. I am still finding pieces of moss all over my craft room. Next, I took some of the eggs outside and spray painted them with white chalk paint. I used skewers and inserted the skewer into the bottom of each egg. I never realized plastic eggs have holes in the bottom and top. Am I the only person that didn't know this? I then placed each egg on a skewer into a piece of styrofoam. This made the eggs a lot easier to paint. I used some antique white crafting paint and painted the eggs. It took 2 coats for me to get an even coverage. I used this paintbrush I found at Dollar Tree this week. I got 2 different sizes, and I'm telling you, I would recommend this brush for crafting. The bristles are actually soft, and the brush is a nice paintbrush, not like the plastic brushes that I've been getting in the past. I actually wound up painting more eggs with the antique white paint than these 3. After the eggs had dried, I started decorating them using twine, ribbon, and buttons. I used Dollar Tree twine ribbon I had in my stash and glued it around the middle of each egg. I found these little flower button stickers that I had gotten from Wish a while back and decided to put them on some of the eggs using hot glue. I also have a stash of buttons and glued them to a couple of the eggs. And just look at how stinking cute this little egg static Easter tray turned out. If you haven't already, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel. I upload weekly home decor DIY videos, and you know you don't want to miss any of them. So go ahead and hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when I upload a new video. And as always, thanks for watching. Until next time, happy crafting!